This is Sunday Focus, a weekly public affairs program that looks at the topics affecting our society and the people who are making a change in the community each and every day. The people who have vision for the next generation. Sunday Focus presents new challenges for us, keeping you informed with topics of local and regional interest. Now the host of Sunday Focus, Christine Manica.
Good morning. Coming up on this edition of Sunday Focus, we'll talk with the executive director of the Sioux Falls Regional Airport, Dan Letellier. It's been a chilly and active winter in the Sioux Empire. People are just itching to get out the house and travel someplace warm. The Sioux Falls Regional Airport is a great resource for travel lovers and adventure seekers. Due to the flying demand and need in the Sioux Falls area, lots of new projects are going to transform the Sioux Falls Regional Airport, including the parking garage. That's all coming up on this edition of Sunday Focus. Hey, Dan, good morning.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, good to be with you, too. For once, we're actually not talking about how to travel. We're actually talking about all the exciting new developments with the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. And there's a whole big master plan in the works. But before we get to that, there have been small changes at the airports. There are new gates, snack stations. Why don't you tell us about those smaller projects?
Yeah, we've been, it seems like a never-ending cycle of projects and updates here, but over the last year we have on the concourse itself, we've updated a lot of the interior finishes. So the new carpeting, new wall coverings, the gates themselves have new counters. So just a complete refresh on the ticket counter, ticketing area and concourse area, and we've also added a family restroom on the concourse, which is, you're surprised how many people, that are traveling, single parents traveling with small children of the opposite sex, that gets to be a challenge. You got a 5 or 6-year-old and uncomfortable letting them go in the bathroom by themselves, so, or nursing. So we have, a family restroom there. We have also done quite a few updates on the food concession standpoint. So on the end of the concourse, we added a little deli that will provide you that 5 a.m. cup of coffee. You can grab a sandwich to go, and we also have Cinnabon. So that's a really nice enhancement, I think, for people that are leaving early in the morning and all the way on the end of the concourse that don't want to walk back up to the restaurant.
A lot of, like I said, of those smaller changes have been happening. What do you think has been the best response so far? What are you hearing from the flyers that are either leaving Sioux Falls or coming into it?
Well, I do hear a fair amount of comments from people who do travel or family members or business associates that fly in and out of the airport. And a lot of people are really surprised when I guess I'm not sure. Maybe they have low expectations coming to Sioux Falls, but when they come to the airport and land and come through our facility, they really are surprised at how nice it looks, how easy it is to use, the amenities we have. So they're typically very, very complimentary and surprised at, what our airport has to offer. And, that gets passed on to us eventually. So, yeah, it's, for the most part, very, very complimentary.
I can agree with that statement because my family, when they fly in, they always say that they are so surprised how quick you just get through TSA, baggage, whatever, at the Sioux Falls Regional Airport.
Yeah, for the most part. We do have some peak times of the day, but for the most part, you're able to get through, checked in fairly quickly, and through security and onto the gate and ready to go.
Now, if you haven't heard, it's been pretty busy for you guys at the airport. You just revealed the master plan for the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. Lots of great changes happening. So let's talk about the plan itself. There are different parts to it, and the first stage is that parking garage. Dan, we've talked about this before in the past. Now there's actually a plan in place. So why don't you tell us about the vision for this parking garage?
Well, it's something we've been, looking at really for probably the last 10 years. We've had people all along that time really encourage us. One question we always get is, when are you building a parking garage? But, we started looking at that over 10 years ago, and we've gone through several different studies and analysis to determine, what what will our parking needs be in 5, 10, 15 years? What's the best route to go? Should we continue to pave over ground and have more surface parking and provide shuttles, or is it a parking garage? And we get to a point where, okay, we need a parking garage, then how big should it be? Where should it be? And where should it be located? So it's been a process, kind of step-by-step process. Actually, with construction prices now, I wish we'd have done it about 3 years ago. But we finally got to that point, and we went through the design and got it out for bid last summer, actually. Again, looking at supply chain issues and the length of time for even basic materials. We wanted to make sure that we had it under contract, and contractors were able to get those materials ordered so that we could start on time, this spring and get through the project as quickly as possible, because there's going to be some disruption, but we want to get through it as quickly as we can. But it will be a 4-level parking structure, a little under 1,000 spaces, right in front of the building in the short-term, where the short-term parking lot is right now. Ultimately, we'll have a skyway connection. So from the second level, you'll be able to walk directly into the terminal building itself. So for those folks that come in from Cancun that still are in their shorts and flip-flops, you'll be able to get right out to your car and not have to worry about tromping through a snowdrift or anything to get to your vehicle. So, we think that's going to be a really nice enhancement, and all floors will be covered. Even a lot of parking garages, you get to the 4th level and you're out in the open again. But it will be all 4 levels will be covered. So really excited about getting started. And actually, April 3rd is the first day they'll actually start work, and October of 2024, 18 months later, should have it open and ready to go.
Would you say, Dan, that parking has been an issue at the airport? I've noticed recently on social media posts from you guys that you actually do post about which parking lot is full or what's the capacity level at the time.
Yeah, as the city has continued to grow, so has the number of travelers that we have, and that translates directly into the amount of parking that we need. And we have certainly added, in the last 10 years, we've added over 65% increase in the number of parking spaces. From 2011, when we completely revamped the entire lot, that winter we realized already that we didn't have enough parking spaces. So the very next year, we built the new economy lot. And then 2 years ago, we added 600 spaces onto that, and to the point we're at today, where we really should have enough parking, but we've seen such an increase, especially the last several months, in the number of travelers, I guess, just trying to get someplace warm. And February and March typically are our peak months for parking. And we've just been right last Wednesday. Actually, we were out of 3,100 spaces. We only had about 75 spaces left. And unfortunately, there really isn't any other option for people that are, especially coming out of town and have no other place to park. So, we're always trying to stay ahead of the curve a little bit. And we're adding another 500 spaces here in the next couple of months to that economy lot, so that next winter, we're better able to accommodate those folks. But the parking garage itself will gain about a net gain of about 700 spaces. So when we're all said and done, a year and a half from now, hopefully that will take us quite a few years into the future for parking.
Now, you talked about how this parking garage, it's really been a vision for the past 10 years, but would you say, since the city's population is constantly growing, would you say that kind of ramped up this process a little bit, or would you say it's pretty much on schedule?
I think we probably would have started construction a year and a half, 2 years ago if it weren't for COVID. in 2020, such a drastic drop in traffic. And, at that time it was really difficult to forecast, how quickly there would be a recovery. If you kind of went back in time and looked at, a couple other major disruptions in air travel, whether it's 9/11 or even the Great Recession in 08 and 09, it really took about 3 years to recover and kind of get back to kind of pre-event levels. And really that's kind of the expectation here, that and maybe even a little bit longer with the drastic impacts that we had from the pandemic. But we recovered much quicker than that. If we had known that, we probably would have started construction on the parking garage, a year and a half earlier than we are. But it's not too far off from where we expect it to be, and especially for the demand in spaces.
If you are just listening, I'm being joined by Dan Letellier. He is the executive director for the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. We're talking about all the new and exciting developments coming up for the airport itself. So you were saying that construction starts April 2nd. And so what can flyers expect moving forward when they do come to the Sioux Falls Regional Airport? Any sort of disruptions or parking changes that they need to be aware of?
Well, first of all, bring their patience. We do encourage them to get here early, recommending 2 hours early, because we will have fewer spaces. We're going to have, up to 750 fewer spaces available, because we're constructing this where the short-term parking is now, so there'll be no short-term parking. We'll lose about a third of our long-term parking. So a lot of folks are going to have to go to our economy lot. And as I mentioned, we're actually adding on to that as well. But, based on our, demand that we have, throughout the summer and into the fall, we should be able to accommodate, those loss in spaces. And it will get a little bit better by next winter. We'll get some of those spaces back. The footprint that they need for construction will go down some. But there will be fewer spaces. So especially if you live in the Sioux Falls area, we are, I know it's a hassle, but we are encouraging those folks to get a ride from the airport, just so that those people that do live from out of town, if you're in Worthington or Watertown or something, you're driving down here, you really don't have too many other options, that those folks have a place to park. So, if you're local area travelers, if you can get a ride, we would appreciate that, at least for the next 18 months. And if you're out of town, we'll do everything we can to find a place for you.
Now, besides the parking garage, we talked about how this project has multiple phases. And in addition to the parking garage, there will be additional gates to the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. What can you tell us about this part of the project?
Well, that's a little bit further down the road, but it's part of our master plan process that we've been going through for the last 18 months. A component of that was a terminal study that went through and evaluated, again, first the forecasting, how many passengers do we expect to utilize the airport in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and how does that impact your facility? How many aircraft flight operations, again, are you expected to have, size of aircraft, kind of the peak periods of time that will drive your facility needs. So we've gone through that study. Certainly there are some changes in the ticketing area and baggage screening area that could be done, but really the most urgent need is really to add additional gates. In the next, we have 7 right now, and in the forecast in the next 15 years is that number should go up to 14 gates. And so part of that plan again was we evaluated several different alternatives for how that would look, how this additional concourse and gates would roll out. Our major concern was, whatever we do, we can't take out more than like one gate at a time to do this, because we are already at our kind of peak requirements for aircraft, especially overnight. We have 9 planes here overnight, as it is, and so we really can't afford to take any gates out. So that kind of played into ultimately what layout was selected, but we have gotten that far. We would like to get started on this addition within the next 2 to 3 years. But unfortunately, construction costs, design costs have really skyrocketed from what they were just a few years ago. And the latest estimate for this project, even though it's just adding 5 or 6 gates, is over $130 million. So, the next 2 years is really the challenge is, how can we put together a financing plan? Because that's well beyond what we can fund or borrow ourselves. So it will need to be a partnership from, all the people that benefit from the airport being here. So, the partnership with the federal government and the FAA, be looking for assistance from, state and local governments as well. The airport itself, in 2020, the state did an economic impact study, and the Sioux Falls Regional Airport had over a $400 million a year economic impact to the area. So a very significant benefit of having the airport here, and for whether leisure, business, air freight, air medical operations, Air National Guard. So a lot of users, a lot of people rely on the airport, and we're going to be looking to all those partners to help us put together a financing plan so that we can continue to grow and continue to meet the needs of a growing community.
Now, eventually, Dan, when this project comes to fruition, will these gates allow more flights to and from Sioux Falls and even allow more airlines to fly into Sioux Falls? For example, I know some people wish that Southwest was available out here.
Yeah, exactly, and that really is the driving goal, right, is to be able to accommodate more flights to more destinations and hopefully add some additional carriers here. But as it stands today, we may not be able to accommodate those folks. So we might get a request that, hey, we want to go to San Francisco. And so great, that would be awesome. Well, what time of day do you expect to operate? And that really is going to be the driving factor. If it's we want to leave first thing in the morning, it's like, well, that's going to be a challenge. But if you're going to leave in the middle of the day, then we can probably accommodate that. So right now, we're going to have to be kind of pick and choose, what additional service we have, so that we can not only maintain the level we have, but continue to grow. But there will be limitations. There will be limitations to what we can add, and until we do get to that point where we can add some additional gates.
I know it wasn't too long ago that the Sioux Falls Regional Airport welcomed the community members kind of to share their input about the airport, and that happened at the downtown Sioux Falls Public Library. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that feedback? What's something that flyers are really looking forward to?
Yeah, well, first of all, everybody's excited about the parking garage. It's something a lot of people think is kind of well overdue, which is understandable. Very interested in the changes to the concourse and the ticketing area, some expansion in that area. I don't think there's any one particular concern or things they'd like to see. They had questions about a possible new air traffic control tower, which there'll be a study conducted here starting in May. The FAA is going to be doing a study to determine, if they do build a new tower, how tall does it need to be, what available locations would be for that new tower. We're looking at cargo, air freight with the introduction of Amazon's warehouse here. Does that provide an opportunity for them to have their air cargo airline begin service here as well? So we're looking at a project to expand our cargo apron and other facilities to be able to accommodate not only the operations that FedEx and UPS have here, but also any other new cargo carrier, whether it be Amazon or anybody else that would have that ability to expand here. So, just the general interest. No one particular item that people really wanted to see, but we're very interested in some of the forecasted plans.
If you are just listening, Dan Letellier, he is the executive director for the Sioux Falls Regional Airport, is on the phone with us right now. Now, Dan, I think I speak for everyone when I say the weather is finally getting warmer. It was an active winter season in Sioux Falls, and due to this crazy weather, the Sioux Falls Airport actually did close a few times, and I know those are probably never easy decisions to make. How did you help travelers get to their destinations? Were the airlines helpful and understanding during that whole process?
Yeah, it's really a difficult situation to be in. It does happen. I would say maybe once a winter do you get to a point where the conditions are such that it's not safe to remain open. Unfortunately, that's happened about 4 times this season. Whether it's significant icing event that turns into 15 inches of snow or 12 inches of snow and 40, 50 mile an hour winds. Those conditions, we're typically in a blizzard warning condition. Visibility tends to be really low. So, we always try to be conservative and want to operate a safe operation. As we're out there on the airfield, we need to be able to maintain the runway even better condition than if you're going down the interstate and interstate may be icy, things like that, but it still may be open. Well, that's not the same on a runway. We need to have it really no worse than wet. So we're actively out there removing snow. We're putting de-icing chemical on it to remove any snow or ice. It gets more difficult if you have, excessive winds, especially in the wrong direction. So all those, our ability to maintain that safe runway is our main concern, so that aircraft that are using that are able to land safely. But then you get into situations with visibility. You have, near zero visibility or less than a quarter mile visibility. It's really difficult for aircraft to land, but also for our crew with snow plows and other equipment to be out there and be able to see each other on the runway. So all those factors come into play. We need to make sure that the aircraft can get up to the gates, so ramps need to be clear. We need to make sure that when people get here, they can get in and out of the parking lot, which has been a challenge. If you have 15 inches of snow and 40 mile an hour winds, well, that's not 15 inches of snow. There's probably drifts that are 5, 6 feet or more in between cars, right. And or rental car operations. Their ability to get cars to and from, and to be able to rent, and then just the airport employees themselves. It's easy to say there's no school or don't report to work today, but that's a little bit different story at the airport. If we're open, people still expect that the people that handle the airlines are here to check them in and get them on the plane and de-ice the aircraft. They're assuming that the security screeners are here so that they can get that process accomplished. So there's a lot of people that work out here. You have to be concerned about, are they able to make it to and from work, or are we open, but yet none of the screeners can get here to screen any passengers or bags. So that also, a lot that comes into play. And but overall, we just want to make sure that people that are traveling through our airport it's a safe environment for them to do so.
It probably helps, too, that the National Weather Service here in Sioux Falls is right next door, so you can easily call them and say, hey, should we open today or not?
Yes, they do get plenty of phone calls from us, that's for sure.
What's the best advice that you can give to future travelers when it comes to flight cancellations?
The best thing to do is make sure before you leave that you've checked with your airline directly, or check their website to check the status of the flight to make sure it's still operating, or possibly could be delayed several hours. But make sure you know before you leave home, is your flight still operating? That's the first thing they need to do. When you make your reservation, some people may not want to put their cell phone number in there, but I encourage them to do that, because with the technology today, if a flight is delayed or canceled, they will immediately text you that there's a change in your flight. And in many cases, with again the technology, they'll have already rebooked you for another flight. Now on Allegiant or Frontier, that may be a little different story, but if you're on United, American, Delta, typically if a flight is canceled, they'll automatically have you rebooked, so you already know, when your next flight's going to be. So make sure they have your cell phone or email information, so they can make those notifications.
I'll tell you what, you are so right about that. It saves me gosh knows how many times when I'm flying just to get an alert on my phone that says, hey, your flight's all good, or hold up a second, it's delayed. We'll give you more information later on. That's for sure helpful. Again, it's Dan Letellier with the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. Dan, before we let you go, anything else happening at the airport? Any new destination options happening for future flyers soon?
Allegiant always has I think they have 9 different destinations this summer. They did bring back Los Angeles. So, there's a lot of low-fare opportunities to popular leisure destinations. We've seen United and American kind of upgauge their aircraft to larger 737s, Airbus aircraft. So when you leave here, there's a good chance you'll be on a bigger aircraft than maybe you've flown on before. Not necessarily any new destinations this summer, very similar, I think, to last year, so there's plenty of opportunities for people to go where they want to go. But it doesn't mean that, we do have conversations with some other carriers about a potential new route here or there, so there's always the potential down the road to add something. Now with Southwest, I know you brought that up earlier.
Yes.
All the airlines are struggling with like staffing like everyone else, but in particular pilot hiring is trying to get new pilots into the industry is really a challenge. A lot of hurdles to become a pilot. More pilots getting to be 65 where they have to retire. So, across the industry, having enough available pilots is really getting to be a challenge. So those new routes getting added are more and more difficult to do just because there aren't enough pilots to do that. And Southwest struggles with that too. So, they're constantly kind of jockeying around some of their schedules and where they fly, how often they fly. But they haven't necessarily been adding too many completely new cities. And so it's probably down the road a while until this pilot issue gets resolved.
My 2 cents, bring back the Orange County flight from Sioux Falls, because that was great. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it was very popular. Yep.
For sure. All right, Dan, where can people find out more information about exciting updates for the airport or just in general?
Yeah, they can check our website out, sfairport.com. So we try to post all the latest information, especially we'll have a separate page just for our parking garage and the construction. We'll post any updates on available parking. So if you do want to check, we'll have there's a separate parking page for that, but we'll also have alerts on if there's situations where parking is getting to be limited.
All right, once again, it's Dan Letellier with the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. Dan, as always, thanks so much for giving us some of your time this morning.
Sure, thank you very much.
I'm Christine Manica, and you've been listening to Sunday Focus. Thank you to Dan Letellier of the Sioux Falls Regional Airport for joining the program today. If you have questions about the Sioux Falls Regional Airport or about flying, you can always check out sfairport.com. Join us again next week for another edition of Sunday Focus.
Sunday Focus is a public affairs program of Results Radio Town Square Media, Sioux Falls.